guys, so today we're going to be talking about A24's latest release, Men, and I thought who better to review it with than my favorite man in the world, my boyfriend Ryan.
Hey,
he's back.
I am a movie expert. I go and see every movie that
sometimes.
she sees.
Most times.
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah, and she needed an authority figure on the subject, so I thought I would offer my 2 cents, and I would explain anything that she might not have understood in the movie.
Like mansplained.
Yeah, as a man, you know, I have better critical thinking.
But yeah, I thought it'd just be an interesting perspective. I saw it with him. He's been wanting to come onto the channel for a while and talk about movies as well. So I thought it would make for a good special guest.
Yeah, we always enjoy talking about movies.
Yeah, we always go deep dive into it after every movie.
Regardless if we like the movie or it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
The drive home from the movie theater, we have some deep talks.
Yeah, and he helps me out a lot with a lot of my videos, in case you didn't know, because whenever I see a movie with him, I typically write my review through our conversations, especially for Moonfall. That was a fun one to just really talk a lot of shit about and do my video on, because a lot of it was also his input. So anyway.
There was a lot to nitpick with that movie.
Yes, definitely. So. Okay, so let's get into the review for Men. This is directed by Alex Garland, who has also directed Annihilation and Ex Machina, and he has written some of my favorite movies pretty much ever. 28 Days / Weeks Later, not one of my favorites. But Dread, we love Dread.
Dread's amazing.
Yeah, we love Dread. Sunshine, one of my favorite sci-fi thrillers. Amazing. Had no idea he was the writer on that one. So I was really excited to see Men. Obviously, it's A24. You never really know like what you're going to get with that studio company. You really, in my opinion, have a lot of hits and misses.
Yeah, they've been hit and miss lately.
Very much so.
In the past, it was more hits than
definitely.
misses.
I think so.
In my opinion, this one was a miss. 2 thumbs down. Boo.
Okay, let's talk about what the movie was about.
I don't know what it was about. Can you say what it was about?
Yeah, so Men follows Harper, who moves to the English countryside for a couple weeks to get away from a tragic event that happened. She is now a widow, and something or someone seems to be stalking her from the woods that are surrounding the house, the Airbnb, if you will.
And then there's a lot of like tension with a lot of the men in the village.
Yes.
That's kind of the general vibe.
However, I do want to say the impression that this movie gives off, I don't think is how it was actually executed. And we'll talk more about that when we get into spoilers, because we will be doing spoilers, because the ending was absolutely asinine. So we really have to talk about it, because that's what kind of killed it for us. Was the end. But we'll get more into depth.
If you talk to anyone about the movie, they'll be like, oh, the ending. And regardless if they like it or not, they're going to talk about the ending because the ending was crazy.
It was, yes. I know you didn't like it. I am still on the fence. I think I'm like at the halfway point of liking it and not liking it. I've had to like sit with it for some time. I think I'd give it like 3 out of 5 because there are so many elements that I really enjoyed about this movie and so many things that I really didn't. But I don't think that Alex Garland's point of the movie was really executed how he maybe intended. So yeah, let's get into some things that we did like, because you liked some things. You didn't like the movie, but you liked some things.
Yeah, the first 40 minutes was really good.
Amazing.
Really good. Yeah, the soundtrack was good. I think that was, for both of us, the best part of the movie.
The score and the soundtrack.
Kind of Fleetwood Mac vibes, I would say.
And also the score for the tense scenes that weren't like actual soundtrack songs. The score that was, performed for the movie was really, really good and really helped build the tension.
Yeah, I mean, that was why I really liked the first half, because the tension was really good. I don't know, they established it well, and it seemed like it was rising, and it didn't really follow through, so I feel like they did such a bad job. I had such high hopes, because the first half was so good.
Yes.
And it made me really dislike the movie because I was let down so much.
So much, yeah. It wasn't like, it was just okay throughout, or, wasn't holding up to that potential throughout. It was such a letdown, like a steep cliff dive towards the end.
My enjoyment of the movie was like first half, and then it plateaued for like the middle 20 minutes, and then the last 30 minutes was just there's a specific part where I was like, oh my god, this is not going to be good anymore.
Where it drops off.
The acting was good.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It was generally a well-made movie.
It was beautiful. The scenery and the cinematography was really good. I loved the location. I want to go to the English countryside so bad.
Yeah, she whispered that to me in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
We should go to England, she said.
Yeah, I've never really had an interest, but then after seeing how beautiful the countryside is in England, I was like, I need to go there. So it was gorgeous, but the performances were so well done. Like, that, to me, was my favorite part of the movie, was how well everyone did.
There's a kind of a gimmick in the movie where every male character is the same actor.
Yeah.
And they use, like, body doubles, and they kind of, like, look like they put his face in digitally afterwards, because there's like a boy and there's like an older man.
Yeah, it was really creepy. It had like a really eerie effect when you're watching it, that every man had the same face. It was very bizarre.
They change it just subtly, where it's
like, you're like, I think that's the same person.
Yeah, if you told me that gimmick on paper, I would say that's gonna be very dumb and distracting. But the actor was the different roles very well, I would say. So that was very fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I also really liked the overall concept of what he was going for. But I think what became the letdown is how he actually wrote Harper in the movie, how he wrote her as a character, which is how I think it wasn't executed properly, because he had so much potential for that concept, and I think that's what people were most looking forward to, that this would be like a really creepy movie and a little bit of social commentary. I've seen people compare it to that of Jordan Peele movies, which you just can't compare them, because this isn't so much a social commentary movie.
No, it's not. And I think the title of the movie, we mentioned this, the title of the movie kind of gives you the wrong impression of the movie. The trailer kind of makes you think it's going to be social commentary. The title makes you think it's going to be all about the issues with men and male culture, I suppose. I was joking earlier about being offended by being a man and watching it, because it really isn't even about that.
It's not. It ends up not being about that at all. So
she's the main character is even talking to another woman, and she's complaining about like her experience in the village with all the men, and they don't even really bring up the gender issue. They're just like, wow, much. I can't believe you're having such a hard time in the village. They don't even address, that it's like all
the men are being weird. It's not super on the nose in that sense. Yeah, not super heavy-handed.
I wish they would have named it something else, because it really
it makes you think one thing about the movie, and it really isn't truly about that. We'll talk about what it really is about, in my opinion, how I interpreted the movie, in spoilers. So
it's about nothing. It's a bad movie.
So speaking of that, let's get into what we didn't like. Just general overall. Obviously, we didn't like the ending, and we won't get into specifics yet until we get into spoilers. But just generally speaking, what did we not like?
Well, it's hard because mostly what I didn't like was the ending. Like I said, I liked the first half, and the ending ruined it.
Yes. So. I think what the problem is that the ending got weird for weird's sake. I feel like Alex Garland got a little bit pretentious, because he was the writer for this movie too, and I think his message got a little bit lost in him just being weird, just to be weird. And I don't think it's gonna land for everybody watching this movie.
Not weird in a scary way. Like The Thing.
That's very body horror, which was shocking because I didn't expect that. It just got weird, and not in like a really fun way. It was just uncomfortable, and maybe that was his intent, but I just thought it felt so disjointed from the rest of the movie, which was so beautifully done, and like the build up and the tension.
The tension was subtle,
so good,
and it was like consistently rising, like I said before. And then the ending just totally jumps the shark. And I'm trying not to spoil it right now, because we're going to save that for the ending. Besides that, I'm trying to think of what else I didn't like. Oh, well, we always thought, we talked about how the main character is a little bit of a damsel in distress.
Yes, that was disappointing.
It was very disappointing. To the point where she can clearly like fight back. She would have a weapon in a situation. Yeah. And she's just kind of like standing there disassociating.
Yeah, she's just like dumb, which... maybe there's a purpose trauma PTSD.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a purpose, but it just felt like if this is the message, then why is she so dumb? Like, he just wrote her very poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah, kind of helpless. It's definitely, there's a situation where it's definitely past the point of, she's obviously in a life or death emergency situation. Yeah, and she's still like, what's going on here? Like, she's trying to ask for help and stuff, and it's like, no, you need to just start running. You need to
something. You need to do something. Like,
so... And that was happening too much. It was
maybe it was to highlight the freeze response that maybe a lot of women experience in these kind of situations. Yeah, I feel like maybe it's supposed to be like commentary on that. I don't know. I don't really know what his intention is. I feel like I need like a breakdown video of what this movie was supposed to be about. But let's just get into spoilers so I can give you my theories on what I think this movie was actually about.
Wait. What? Before spoilers, was it scary?
Yeah.
It was kind of scary. All right.
Okay, there was subtle nuances that you wouldn't understand. Just kidding. But there was a lot of subtleties and nuances in it that added to the tension and really subtle horror. And I think that's why it just became like Looney Tunes in the end, where I was like, all right, that's not what we were doing before. So it just like completely changed directions. So the ending didn't end up being scary. It was just jarring to look at. But the first like 3/4, I think, was pretty scary as far as like tense goes.
Yeah.
Tension.
It's tough. Sometimes I think it was more of a thriller. Okay. Honestly.
Yeah, I could say that. Yeah. I didn't feel like fear.
That's what I'm thinking, you know. Yeah. I always like thinking about that, you know. Was it actually scary? So a lot of horror movies, they're just kind of like upsetting. They're not really scary.
True.
You know?
Yeah, and this was more thriller, upsetting.
That's what I think.
Than like true scary. So let's get into spoilers. So if you have not watched it yet, we're going to talk about all about the ending. So you can click off the video.
It's so bizarre. It's even like, where do we start?
I know.
You find out all the men, right? You take the lead on this. I don't want to mansplain in the video.
Yeah, all the men that she is interacting with in this town are connected. They're part of this like supernatural, spiritual being almost that is connected to Mother Nature. The earth.
Yeah.
It's very
Father
bizarre.
Nature, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. But it was so weird that they were all connected.
Yeah, she goes to this church in England, and there's like a sculpture of this like mythical man with like leaves coming out of his face. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out that's the creature that's been following her throughout the movie. The like
naked man, yeah.
Yeah, because there's this issue of being stalked throughout the movie.
Right. And you think it's just some weird pervert, right? That's like being naked in the woods and following her back to the house. And that part is really creepy.
Yeah, that part
very
was scary.
Unsettling. It's like, what's going on?
And that's part of the tension that was rising because she kept seeing that weirdo follow her around. Mm-hmm. But then in the end, it's like he's some like fairy in the forest and it's like some like ritual thing that's happening, but it doesn't even matter because nothing happens in the end. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a lot of birthing visuals. We get that 4 different times. Birthing.
Yeah,
from
I say
exactly what you think is happening. And that's where it gets so bizarre. I just lose all hope in the execution of the ending because the potential was so good. It was so there. And he almost did it, but then I get kind of lost in like what the meaning is supposed to be in the end. Yeah,
we're right in the climax, you know. She's cornered, this like weird mythical monster is like, has her trapped. And then it just zooms in right on female genitals. And it does that about 5 different times. And that wasn't for me. That wasn't very...
I just don't know why. Maybe one time... but to
not the main character's genitals. That would be even worse.
It's
but
it
was like
the creature, the man.
The man,
genitals.
Yeah, the man has female genitals, so it's like I don't know, some like metaphor about Mother Nature. I don't know. It was so bizarre.
It was just, and it kept rebirthing himself over and over and over again.
And the whole time, the main character again, she's doing just like standing
nothing.
there.
She's doing nothing, and it's like. she does she is just there in the end. The last 20 minutes, she is just observing like we are. Like
she's part of the audience. She retreats into the audience.
Yeah, she's not doing a single damn thing to what is happening to her, and I'm very confused.
Well, what would you do if someone stalked you over the course of a week and then cornered you and then respawns themselves through birth several times? What would you do in that situation?
Try to kill it. I don't know. I would try something. There was a point.
I would stomp it out, I think.
Yeah. There's a point where she has the knife up to this child's chest and could easily kill it because they're all connected. So this child is this mythical creature.
And it's like actively antagonizing her.
Yes. It's obviously going to come after her. And
he's like, I bet you won't do it.
Yeah. And she doesn't. And she just runs away.
So, yeah, that's part of her being helpless.
Yeah, and I just think if the message is supposed to be about social issues, writing her to be a super damsel, she doesn't have to be badass. She doesn't have to be Lara Croft in there, like, doing all these things, but she literally doesn't fight back one time. She just runs away every time, which is a genuine response for a lot of people. Maybe that was intentional. Maybe it was supposed to be highlighted, but it just makes her look stupid.
Yeah.
As the only main female character, she looks stupid.
That's the main issue I have, is that is the climax. This monster corners her and then just gives birth 5 times in a row, and then the movie ends. And that's it.
But her husband comes back, right? The plot with her husband being, did he kill himself? Did he fall? I don't know.
Yeah, there's some mystery with that's what sets up the movie, is her husband dies either through suicide or by an accident.
Right, and it builds up their relationship to be toxic. They're fighting, he hits her. It's a bad situation.
He's emotionally abusive.
Yes.
And then in the very end, after the climax,
after all the birthing.
Yeah, because it's transforming all to the different versions of the monster. So every man in the village is the same creature. So it gives birth, it's one man, that man gives birth, it's the other man that you saw during another part of the movie. And then in the ending, it gives birth one last time.
To her husband.
And it turns into the husband.
It's her husband, chilling. And he
Why?
walks...
What does that mean?
I don't know. He walks over to the couch, sits down. Obviously, the injuries that she inflicted upon this being... She did fight back one time. The ankle breaking was not her doing. She stabbed it one time. It ripped the knife out, so it has
cool.
It has a double hand, which is really cool.
Yeah,
visually.
Cut down the middle and
it's flopping around.
That part was cool.
Yeah, I liked that visual, and it turns out that those injuries are the same injuries her husband suffered when he fell. So, because she had seen his dead body after he had fallen, so his hand had been ripped open by a gate, his ankle was broken. So I liked that the monster would have these injuries that was inflicted upon by her, and it was her husband's injuries. So it's did she cause her husband's suicide, right? Because I think that's supposed to be the message. Did she actually do it? They bring that up in the
movie where she feels guilty a little bit about his suicide. She's like, did I cause him to do that?
Yeah.
And then you have later on in the movie, she's literally causing the same wounds to the monster as the husband suffered. So a bit of a metaphor there.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was going for a lot of symbolism, and I think it kind of got a little convoluted in the end with too many things going on. My biggest theory about the meaning of this movie is actually not about men at all and social commentary. I interpret it more as grief and trauma, because kind of like the Babadook, that's how I took it, because the husband was so important in the end, even though she just sat there and didn't do anything.
Yeah. Oh, can we recreate the last 20 seconds?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm going to be the horrible husband. You be Harper. You be the main character.
Knife.
Okay.
I have a knife.
Should I get up? Last 10 minutes of the movie. I'm a monster with... Oh, gosh. You just saw this monster give birth to me. Hey, what's up? Look at me. This is what you did. Do you love me? And then that's her reaction. She's just standing there.
She doesn't say a word, and it's just bizarre reactions from her.
Yeah, he literally says that. He's like, "Hey, look," in that kind of manner.
Yeah, he's like, look at what you did to me.
I wanted to laugh. It was so goofy.
Yeah, so I'm not sure really what he was going for in the end, because everything else building up to that point was so good. And I think if he changed one thing, it would have been redeemed a little bit. If he had her kill her husband finally,
I would have loved that.
That would have been the biggest, way to end it. The best way to end it.
They
out of what they did.
The husband was abusive, and she's like struggling with getting over it. And then in the end, trauma. He's standing in front of her.
And he's clearly part of this creature at this point. He's just been birthed from it.
And she's just standing there being catatonic, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
And it was like, what was the point of the whole
There really
movie?
There really wasn't. I'm not sure why he chose to end it that way. When all his other movies that he wrote were so good. I like all of them. So I'm confused.
And she had a weapon in her hand at the time. So it literally would have saved the whole ending for me.
If she just
would have cut his head off.
Because then it would have shown like a full circle, like a point to the whole cycle that she is in this trauma, or, in her grief, in her husband's death and everything. Like it just would have brought it full circle, and I feel like it was a lost... it was a
missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity, for sure.
I think it's worth the watch just because the beginning's good. It's a very pretty movie.
Yes. I liked all of it up until that very last 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, but... the difference between you and me is I think that ruins the rest of the movie.
Right,
I think it's a bad movie, but I enjoyed the journey.
But you wouldn't revisit it because
I don't think I'd rewatch it. Or maybe I would watch until... I'd watch the first hour and then stop.
Yeah, I would revisit it. I liked it. I can say that I liked it overall. The ending was a little confusing to me. I would love to hear your opinions, though, of what you interpreted it as, if you've seen it, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to come in with their theories. It does feel very A24, which you could take that as a good or a bad thing, depending on your views of the company. But yeah, it was a little bit convoluted in the end. I feel like the message got a little bit lost, and I'm not sure... Yeah. He just wanted to be weird, I think, and a little bit pretentious with all these messages, and I don't think it was a strong point to the movie.
It just turned into a home invasion movie in the end, which was cool. I liked
it. Wasn't bad. Yeah.
But then suddenly it churned into something else the last 20 minutes, and it was out of nowhere.
Body horror, weird, bizarre, just
artsy,
bizarre. Yeah, very artsy, metaphors all over the place. It was just, it kind of lost me. I would recommend it. 3 out of 5. I would rewatch it. I liked it, but I think it's mostly the first hour that saves it for me, and it just kind of loses me in the end. But you probably wouldn't recommend it. Or you would.
Yeah, I think just because I think the gimmick was done so well with the one male actor.
Yeah, playing, I like that a lot.
I mean, how many characters did he play? He played
probably at least 5.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
That was very impressive.
Really good.
I think that alone is worth checking out.
Yeah, it's interesting. You will never be bored in this movie. Never be bored. It's not one of those where you just want to walk out. There's no point. It's not one of those, but it just gets weird. Anyway, those are our final thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts on this movie down below. Have you seen it yet? I know it's not out in other countries for a long time, but thank you so much, Ryan, for joining me in this review for Men.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'd like to come back.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Let me know if you would like to see him in future reviews, especially just movies that we watch together. He's been wanting to do a debate with me on this channel. I don't know on what, but we're going to find something to debate on, because we disagree a lot when it comes to movies and entertainment in general. So.
I like to argue, so it'll be fun.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.